Now to the government's crackdown on antisocial behaviour in public housing. It's been revealed the number of people evicted from Homes West houses has spiked by 30%. The government says it's making no apologies for weeding out the so-called bad apples. But resolving the issue of bad tenants is anything but simple. Evictions have always been tough on families, and critics argue the new regime is leaving more in crisis. Jake Sturmer reports.
Many 10-year-old boys dream of a racing car bed, but for Aidan Bennell, the back of a Commodore wasn't where he expected to call home.
It was sad and cold, and it hurt my back too, sitting up.
He, 3 of his 5 brothers and his parents spent 2 nights cramped in here after being evicted from their Homes West property in Ellenbrook in May.
We sort of more or less sat up all night and talked, you know, and hoped for the night to go quick, for daylight to come. Yeah. Then we couldn't explain to our children where they'd sleep the next night. We just couldn't explain that to them. We didn't know where we'd sleep.
Now the family has a home, at least for the short term. They're staying with a family member in Brookton, about 2 hours' drive from Perth.
We make a big bed up in the lounge room. 2 boys sleep in the bedroom, and we make a big bed up in the lounge room. We all just crash there because it's warmer here than living on the streets.
A 2-bedroom unit, sleeping 8.
It's terrible. It really is. You know, your kids wake up in the morning and they're not even in their own bedrooms. They're laying in their nana's lounge room, you know. So it's just no good.
For Aidan Bennell, the eviction led to huge changes at home and school.
At the end of the day, I said see you to all my friends and all that, and I didn't come the next day because I had to leave.
How did that make you feel?
Sad.
Have you been able to make new friends here?
No.
The family don't deny they had significant problems. Mum Sharon Yaksich believes they were evicted for a range of issues, including being involved in fights needing to be broken up by police and threatening neighbours. But they maintain they always paid their rent on time and their actions didn't justify being made homeless.
I don't reckon we did anything wrong. We were never charged by the police or anything like that. But we never broke no law. And yet we're out on the street.
The neighbours out here in Ellenbrook tell a different story. None wanted to appear on camera for fear of retribution, but told of constant yelling, threats and intimidation that made their life a living hell. All that happened before the government toughened its antisocial behaviour policy in May. Damage to public housing costs taxpayers millions of dollars a year. In April, Troy Buswell argued the government's 3 strikes eviction policy wasn't working.
This is a big stick approach. This is an approach which says if you do not behave in an appropriate way, you will be evicted.
The minister said then the policy wasn't being applied consistently. Now it clearly is. Last month, 28 tenants were evicted. The average number per month is 19. The WA Council of Social Service warned the hardline approach would put more pressure on emergency accommodation.
We don't want this to be driving into homelessness in the community because that has other undesirable consequences.
And the Equal Opportunity Commission has concerns of its own.
You can get a strike for swearing in your own house. You can get a strike for swearing in the street in front of your house. You can get a strike for having a visitor who's drunk.
3 of those in 12 months and you can be evicted.
It's very easy for a tenancy to be terminated, and for the tenant who may not have been drunk or been swearing, they're out with their children and the prospects are quite bleak.
The Commission says it's been inundated with complaints throughout the last month and is working to resolve them through mediation.
For a lot of these people, particularly the single mothers with several young children, the thought of being made homeless at this time of year in freezing cold weather and with nowhere to go is really horrendous.
Make that 3 children, 2 of which are sick, and you get a sense of what Kathy Abraham is facing.
We've got nowhere to go. One of my sons suffers from soiling due to domestic violence, and he's due to see a doctor in late July. And my other son just got out of hospital for golden staph.
Right now they're sharing their home with another 2 people, and all have been told to leave by the end of the week. Kathy Abraham says she's been evicted under the tough new policy without even reaching 3 strikes.
One of the strikes was for drunkenness. Another strike was for antisocial behaviour, people fighting at the front of my house. And they didn't issue us with a 3rd strike, but they just didn't renew our tenancy.
While she admits there were serious problems, she and her children don't have anywhere to go.
I was responsible for the rubbish at the front of my house. I fixed that up, you know. Are you going to be responsible for me and my children living on the street like you're trying to do?
The Minister had this message for evictees this week.
They may have to find accommodation with family and friends. They may have to go back into the private rental market. I think the message is we have 24,000 plus people on the waiting list. The people who get evicted can go perhaps to where the people off the waiting list came from.
But families like Kathy Abraham's fear if they do stay with family and friends, they'll overcrowd the house and lead to more strikes.
I don't want my burden to be put on my family, you know, because then Homes West will go and suss them out, you know. It's not about me being an antisocial person, because to myself and my friends and my family, I'm a good person.
But this week the Minister said that so too are the neighbours crying out for action on bad tenants.
I have to stress, we're doing this in response to cries of help from hundreds and hundreds of people across Western Australia whose lives are being ruined by unruly Department of Housing tenants.
Kathy Abraham's concerns are more immediate. While critics are asking at what point can throwing families out on the street be justified, she's trying to answer a far more pressing question.
Where are we going to go with our children?
Jake Sturmer with that story.